Chapter 1. Diversions. Gracefully gliding its way through the magic-infused mists, the outline of the giant eagle shimmered like a shadow. Despite its avian eyes, both eagle and rider were flying blind. They had traversed this path for decades, and elf and beast could tell the shores of Ulthuan were approaching. Gradually, the fogs parted, and even after countless times, the sight of their home took their breath away. Ulthuan, the jewel of civilization. Ulthuan, the fading star of the known world. Melancholic in its diminishment, but still the brightest. "Well done, my friend," said Yeasir, the young elven noble who sat upon this beautiful and great bird. "I guess it's time to go home." Elanrian, the great eagle, picked up on the pauses, so blatant in his muted delivery, and with a confidence known from repetition, knew exactly what response he was hoping for. But I barely stretched my wings," replied Elanrian, going along with the performance. "You are young, and now is the time for exploration and adventure. What would my young sir say to a little bit of a diversion?" Yeasir's reply had been on the tip of his tongue before Elandrian had even begun to reply to him. Before Elandrian had squawked out his last words, Yeasir immediately acquiesced, just as the great eagle knew that he would. "I tell you what, since you have provided me with such excellent service of late, I shall allow this just this once," said the young elf, trying his utmost to sound like a true elven noble that was of age, and that he had often been introduced to in the family villa, not the boy of only 30 summers that he really was. "However, I shall be deciding upon the route," he again said haughtily. "Very well, my lord, you have my gratitude," replied Elanrian, with a mocking respect. "Whatever my lord desires." There was a short silence, as the wind rippled through the glossy feathers of browns and muted greys that covered Elanrian's wings. The quiet continued for perhaps 5 seconds before both rider and mount burst into a laughter, pure and bubbly, that came right from the belly. The whole of Elandrian's body vibrated, and those that have never heard the sound of a great eagle laugh would stand agape at its piercing volume. The shrieking filled the humid air, reaching the crew of an eagle ship sailing directly below them. The crew of the ship, that sharp vessel, jumped to station before raising their heads and realising the source of the strange noise. Irritated, they gave the young noble a rather forced set of salutes, per their duty, and kind of making Yeasir laugh even more. "So, where to, my liege?" enquired Elandrian, as he regained his composure. "Take one guess," replied Yeasir, his eyes gazing to the left. "Toran Rock it is, then. Is it ever anywhere else? My eagle-eyed vision far outstrips any of the Eldar races, and I could already make out the juttering peaks, lonely in the water out to the left." Without warning, Elandrian took a sharp swerve to the left, as he now raced towards the sunken city. "You know me too well," replied Yeasir, "and I've dropped my book," replied Yeasir in sudden surprise, as he gripped tightly with his thighs with instinctive speed. I wish I'd gripped tightly with my thighs to the book. As Elandrian slowed down to a more leisurely pace, Yeasir was able to talk once more. "The sunken lands of Lost Naggareth have always been close to my heart. Ever since I was an elfling, sat by the fire, listening to my mother as she told me about the great Anarion's court, where Naggareth was the greatest province of our island, meaning probably the greatest parcel of land in the world. She also told me about his son Malekith and that bitch of a mother. Their turning to the darkness and the cruel evil place that it became. Being such a lover of myth, Aesir fell into reciting to Elandrian the well-known tale of the Sundering, and Elandrian was all too happy to let him indulge himself, even secretly slowing his pace to allow Aesir to tell his story. Malekith and Morathai devoured all kinds of dark knowledge and rose up against the democratically chosen Phoenix King. Thank Azorian for Caledor II. Imagine if he hadn't been defeated and chased off to the north. The world would be a far darker and more brutal place. I mean, just look at the transformed homeland they have. Nagaroth is literally hell on earth from the stories I've been told. It's even worse than you think possible, sighed Elanrian. You would not believe the horror that is Nagaroth. Praise to the power and courage of our armed forces. No matter how many times they try, the Druki will never take back Ulthuan. I have never understood your longing to always view the sunken lands and sharp cliffs of Nagaroth. It's a morbid place, always bearing the brunt of the fighting when the Dark Elves decide to have another crack at us. Let me finish. It's rude to interrupt, said Aesir, as he was interrupted by Elandrian. Promise me you'll never go there. What kind of promise is that? Of course I'll never go there, said a confused Aesir. I'm not insane. You have the longing for adventure in your heart. You are young, but one day your life will be yours to choose. I do not over-explain when I say that many elves with your personality have raided or explored Nagaroth, trying to make a name for themselves. Most have been killed in the most horrific of ways. Just remember your promise for, hopefully, all your long years. Now, I beg your pardon, carry on. Slightly taken aback, Aesir thought back to where he had been up to in his mother's tales, and continued. What followed was the Sundering, as every elf knows. Our people were ripped in two, and the land itself suffered the same fate. The once golden province of Nagaroth was literally ripped apart. All that remains are the ragged islands that we are rapidly approaching. That's not quite true, replied Elandrian. The Druki Black Arks that sail the seas are literally pieces of Nagaroth, kept afloat through powerful and old magic during the Sundering. Why not seek one out, if your love of that land is so strong? I've heard their new architecture has done wonders to the place, mocked Elandrian. You know what? One day I might just do that, retorted Aesir arrogantly, trying to sound as tough as possible. That will be one trip you'll be making on your own. I wouldn't go 100 leagues from one of their ships. Those weapons have the name Eagle Bolt Throwers for a reason. Don't concern yourself, smirked Aesir. Just Toran Rock for today. I may long to see the Shadowlands, but I certainly have no wish to join the masses of dead buried beneath them. Hugging the coastline with the great plains of Tiranoc to their right and the ocean to their left, Elandrian plummeted downwards, jolting Aesir again with the sudden speed and pulling up out of the dive at the last second, covering the pair of them in the salty spray of the sea. Elandrian's wings skimmed across the ocean as he let out a piercing squawk of pure joy. Aesir laughing along, hooting and hollering with him. They darted this way and that way as they rounded the tiny islands that speckled Tiranoc's coastal waters and marked the beginning of Nagaroth, what most elves now accurately called the Shadowlands.